broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 52 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor. No Damon today, unfortunately. We got Trevor, though. What's up, Trevor?
Not much. How are you doing?
I'm good. Lots of good stuff to talk about today. And not only do we have lots of good stuff to talk about today, we have a special guest here today that we are very excited about. This is a topic that has come up. I can't believe it's actually taken us 52 episodes to get to this person to talk about this topic, Trevor. Because this is a topic we get asked about all the time.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this. So.
Me too. So I want to introduce Drew from DVC Rental Store. It takes everything in my being, Drew, not to say DVC resale market because we say that word so much on our show. But DVC Rental Store.
We get mixed up quite a lot. So.
Oh, is that happening a lot? Okay, that's good. Can you give us a little bit about your background, about your company, DVC Rental Store? Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, we've been in existence from we started around 2012, 2013. It was kind of a crossover of years, but since then, we actually were all DVC owners first, and then we were like, well, hey, what's this whole renting thing about? And we kept digging deeper, and then all of a sudden, DVC Rental Store came about, and so we literally get to make people's dreams come true on a daily basis. So we literally, there's never a bad day in the office.
It's cool because you guys work with both members and non-members, for different reasons, right? So you have people that are renting their points out or people that are renting the points, right? So, and that are sometimes members, sometimes not, I'm sure.
Exactly. So, our two big sides of it is, like we said, it's the guests and the members. So you have the guests that are coming that want to go to Disney World, that want to stay in the DVC resort and not pay the Disney rack rate, and instead, we have our other side, which is the members who say, they have some bank points that are expiring. They just need some extra cash to pay their annual dues. Whatever the reason is, they just come to us and they say, here, have our points for a year, and I'll take the cash instead.
Wow. Okay. That sounds great. Well, we have, Drew, I don't know if our listeners are the greatest, right? I mean, they really are amazing. They sent us all sorts of questions for you. So we've got a big list of questions. And Trevor, I don't know if you want to ask the first one.
Yeah, sure. I guess we can probably bounce these back and forth. So I didn't see who this one was from, but
it was from multiple people. That's why I didn't put a name on there. Yeah, so it's a bunch of people asked us this, and from us, actually. This is a question from us too.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, Drew, I guess myself and Tom, neither of us have rented points before. So what is the process like for renting points from DVC Rental Store? Like how do you do it?
As the guest renting, or as the member or the guest? Are you saying renting as in?
So let's go both.
All right. Right? Well, yeah, let's start with how do you rent points, or how do you rent points if you want to go on a trip, and then as a member, How do you rent your points out?
Gotcha. So if you're a guest, both processes are insanely easy. On the rental side, that you want to go to Disney World using someone else's points, all you do, you just go to our website and it'll walk you through everything, but basically without getting into too great a detail, you submit a request form that shows, I want to go during these weeks or this time period, want to stay at these resorts. You submit that request form. One of our amazing travel agents will reach out to you, and they'll kind of work with you about, how many kids you have, where is it exactly that you'd want to be, your dislikes, your likes. And at the end of all that, you have your reservation that you are really set on. So then you submit a $100 deposit, and we put your listing on our website. And members will go on there and claim it. And so once a member goes on and claims a reservation, it's been booked. Your travel agent reaches back out to you, and you have a reservation. And then you just do the payment side from there, and you check in like any other, like it's your own reservation. You put it on your My Disney Experience, and it is yours.
Wow. So from the member side, the member has to go in and like book a reservation under the renter's name. Is that how that works?
Exactly. So the on the member side, they go in once you get through the sign-ups and the agreements and all the fun stuff. they go on our website and they can claim exactly what reservation they want to book. So if I have 150 Animal Kingdom points that I'm just not going to use this year, I just want to get the cash for them, I go on our website, I see a 150 point Animal Kingdom reservation that fits in my point time frame, I book it, or I claim it, and then I book it, and then I have to call DVC or do it online, and I just put in all of the guest info, all that good stuff, and then I get my payment. And it's 75% up front, 25% when the guest checks in. That way we have security, so there's no, it's a member, the member won't cancel because there's they got to receive that last 25%.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm guessing that like when a renter goes in to put the request in, they just put the dates they want to go, and you guys do the back end work to figure out how many points that's going to be to tell the member. I'm assuming, right?
Well, the guest has to do the same thing on the front end. The travel agent works with them to figure out how many points it's going to be, because everything is on a point by point basis. So we charge the guest on a certain point basis, and then we pay the member per point basis.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, so I guess my next question on that is, so you said, as a member, we would go in and look at requests that fill a certain amount of points. What if you had like a smaller amount of points left over? Is there any way you can use that to help fill a larger request, or do you have to find something that matches what you have?
It's a good question. So you have to basically match up whatever points you have. But a lot of people will say, well, I have 150 points in Animal Kingdom that I want to use, but let's see, I see a 160 point reservation. They'll just borrow 10 from their next year to line it up perfectly, so they just get the 160, because if you don't want to be left with like 5 points that you can't bank or anything like that, because then they're just wasted points.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is like, how do you do it if you come up short, or if you have leftover? But I guess you bank or borrow to. That makes sense.
There's a lot of flexibility in the DVC system. With rarely do we find people that ever, let's say I have a 100-point contract, that literally book a 100-point stay every single year. There's always kind of a flexibility of 5 to 10 points in there.
I feel like you guys are kind of like a dating service for DVC members. Like you're a matchmaker. You're matching up
eHarmony of the DVC world.
Yeah. And if you want to use that, if you want to use that as a tagline, feel free. Just make sure to attribute it to me.
That's exactly. I mean, in the simple sense, that is actually exactly what we are. We call ourselves an intermediary. We just connect both sides, but we in a sense, we're also an escrow, in that the guest feels comfortable because they know that we have legal rights and everything, and we make the members sign all these agreements, and so it's not like a private rental where there's always that risk that when you check in on that day, you're always kind of in the back of your mind thinking this reservation could be canceled. With us, that does not happen.
Well, that's good to know. I do have a question too, just and this is, and we'll get into like the cancellation stuff, because a lot of our listeners that are members had a lot of questions about how safe this is for them to do, if they're going to get screwed over or something, so we want to definitely talk about that. But just like on the more small things, so like let's say I rent to somebody, rent my points out. Do I have to set up like their Magical Express and their dining plan and all that stuff? Like, is that things I have to do too, or is that something they can do on their own still?
No, as a member, that's part of your tasks, is doing the Magical Express and the dining plans, and then a villa request. And a lot of those, while they sound like it's a lot, it's really not hard in the slightest. It's all, you can do it all through chat, so it takes about 5 seconds to add a villa request or a MDE. And none of it is difficult and all to do. But the reason is the guests cannot actually do it themselves. The member is the one controlling the DVC membership, has to be the one that adds everything.
That makes total sense. That's kind of what I assumed. So, I do have a question. This one comes from Heather, and I believe she sent this in on Facebook. Could a DVC member rent extra points and then have them transferred to them? So, I know we've talked before on this show about transferring points between contracts. I recently just did a reservation where I had some friends transfer me some points for a combined reservation. Is that something that a DVC member could do? Could they rent points and then have those transferred over to them instead of doing like a reservation?
No, because the real reason that wouldn't work is because the guest, 100% of the time isn't a member, so there's no points that could be transferred anywhere. And if you're going member to member, so if I was a member and I transferred points to you, and you paid me for those points, you could in turn use those transferred points to book a reservation, but I don't control those points anymore, so I can't do anything with it. So the one who's in control of the points has to be the one that's doing all of the booking, all of that stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. I was curious about that, though, because I'm assuming you sometimes have DVC members rent from you for maybe if they're out of points or, they want to, I don't know, I guess if they're just out of points. I guess that'd be the only scenario where somebody would do it, right?
It really doesn't happen often, and obviously there's
really?
no, we don't have someone that's renting points from us say, check here if you're a member as well, so it's kind of a hard thing to gauge, but rarely do we ever have members, unless like you said, they just need one more day, or they're out of points and they just still want to go for another week or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, we got another question here. So I guess kind of back to the cost around this. So is there a typical price point for the renting of points, or does it vary really by like time of year and resort and all that kind of stuff?
It varies. It does not vary by time of year. It does vary by resort. And in the 0 to 7 window and the 7 to 11 month window. So if it's anywhere in the 7 to 11, we call them premium resorts and non-premium resorts. So the non-premiums are Saratoga, Old Key West, Hilton Head, and Vero. And just
Shocker.
not a lot of people request those.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They're just not highly demanded. Those are the non-premiums, and then the premiums is everything else. And obviously it's a price difference per the premiums and the non-premiums, and then also within that, if it's a 50 point or under reservation, it costs more than if it's an over 50 point reservation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so if it's under 50 points, it's less money. If it's over 50 points, it's more money. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
If it's under, the price per point goes up, and if it's over, the price per point goes down. Because dealing with those small reservations, it's a little more of a hassle on the member, because say I'm only renting 17 points as a member, and I still have to do all these dining plans and all this stuff with it.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot more work, and so we tend to charge a little more. And like I said, really we don't get a whole lot under 50, but we do, and they always get booked pretty quickly, because the members always want the ones who have 17, 18, 19 points just laying around want to book them.
That's just like a one night, basically.
Pretty much. I think
it's a one-nighter.
I think you can get about 2-3 nights out of 50, but anything more than that gets you over that limit.
Interesting. I think that's interesting, because I was wondering, how that kind of worked, the price point goes, because I see your advertisements sometimes, and it does vary by different resorts and kind of. Did you say it varied too by whether it's 7 months out or 11 months out? Did I hear that too?
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
If it's 7 to 11, it's a different price point than if it's a 0 to 7, except for the non-premiums. Those pay the same at 7 to 11 and 0 to 7, but the premiums, like if you want to stay at Bay Lake and you want to book it 7 to 11 months out, you're going to pay more if you book it during that time than if you were to book it at the 0 to 7th month window. And I know people are thinking, oh, well, I'll just wait to the 0 to 7th month window and I'll just book it then and pay cheaper. The odds of you getting that reservation decrease a whole lot because of availability. So that's why a lot of our guests, we push them to, you may have to pay another $1 per point more, but odds are that reservation is going to get booked. Once it gets in that 0 to 7th month window, you have to compete against availability and everyone else as well.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Because like you said, in the 7 to 11 month, you're dealing with someone who it's their home resort. They're able to get that that booking in a lot easier in that window. That totally makes sense.
You want to do another question?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, actually, I guess so. So we kind of talked about this. So obviously you can do below 50 points, but what is the lowest you can go for renting? I guess whether you're wanting to buy points or if you're wanting to rent points out.
You can go as low as you want. If you want to stay in an Animal Kingdom Jumbo Value Studio for one night, you can do it. I think that's 8 points in the value time or something like that. So if you can find that one night that you just want to stay there, be our guest. But so there's no limit on how small, how big a reservation is. We see reservations over 1,000 points and under 15.
Oh wow. That question actually came from Adam, who sent us a couple questions.
Yeah.
So do you mind if I ask another one here?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, and we kind of talked about this a little bit too. So, what happens? And I think this is a dual question here. So, what happens to the DVC owner if the renter cancels? So, how does that work? And this comes from Adam.
So it can happen. It's not so much a case by case scenario, but what usually happens. There's two situations when a guest, let's say the member books the reservation and then the guest just cancels it. The guest just doesn't want to go anymore that day. The day of, you book it. Well, we send you a little courtesy payment for booking that anyways, and then your points go back to you. You just cancel the reservation. Now, let's say you booked the reservation today, and then 5 months down the road, the guest decides, well, I don't want to go anymore. Well, we'll do our best to re-rent that reservation for you, so that you don't. All you have to do is change the names, and so then you don't have to deal with, okay, now I got to cancel this, now I got to find another reservation, do this thing all over again. We'll just try to find another guest that wants that exact reservation, and they'll take it, and then all you have to do is switch over the names, which is a super easy process, and we'll even give you a little courtesy payment for switching over the names.
Oh wow, okay. So that's pretty straightforward then. So it's not like just a minor inconvenience, I guess, to the DVC member. But what about on the renter side? I mean, I'm sure there's situations where DVC members all of a sudden decide that they want to use those points and they don't want the cash. How does that work?
Well, with members, they're locked in. I'm sorry, you talked about the member side, right?
Yeah. So like if I'm a member and I rent out my points, then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I do want to go this year and I want my points. Like how does that go?
So you are locked in. As soon as you rent from us, you sign a binding legal agreement that basically says, these points were used for this reservation. I will not cancel this reservation under any circumstances. So you are legally bound at that point to keep that reservation because, as a guest, the guest has to feel comfortable knowing that their reservation is not going to be canceled. Because if we had members doing that all the time, we wouldn't be able to conduct business because there's got to be some kind of binding there. So, and we really never have that problem of members being like, oh, I kind of want to use these points now.
Oh, well, that makes total sense. I mean, I could understand why, I mean, it's interesting that the member pretty much can't cancel at that point. That's definitely part of it. So that's interesting to me. Trevor, do you want to ask one?
Yeah. So I guess we've been talking about price and everything. A little bit different angle on this. So Jay has asked, does Disney have any right to revoke your membership or any privileges if you rent out points through a service like your store? Are there any restrictions or anything in the contract that may not be well known, or is there anything that owners should be aware of when we're renting points out?
This is the grand old question that everyone loves to ask us, and it's a perfectly understandable question. In your contract, it does not explicitly state that you cannot rent. It does state that you cannot commercial rent. So that means, and Disney quantifies that as 20 reservations or more in a year. So it actually says, renting is allowed. It's just not commercial renting is allowed. So if you're wanting to rent, you're wanting to rent 100 points a year, you can do that without any fear of Disney coming after you for anything.
It's just you can't do it like 20 times.
Yeah, just don't do it. Just don't do it 20 to 30 times, and then Disney may come
after
slap
you
them on the wrist.
may, and that's the thing, may, right? They'd still
exactly. Exactly. At the end of the day,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess this makes sense why you act as a middleman and you're not actually booking the reservations, because if you were doing that, then you would be in violation of those rules, right? So
exactly. Just by acting as an intermediary, we don't book anything ourselves, so we're not commercial renting. We're not part of that. People think, oh, well, you're a commercial renter. Well, we're not. We don't actually rent or book anything. We just facilitate thousands of members that want to book through us, and so you don't have to have any fear that Disney found out I booked this through DVC Rental Store. Are they going to come after me? They won't. It actually does not explicitly state in your guidelines that you cannot rent your points.
Well, that's great. I mean, that makes me feel a lot better, because that's always been I think that's in the back of everyone's mind, right? So.
Well, because we all
it's always
know
the biggest fear we have is people think, oh, well, Disney's going to come after me if I start renting these, and it's like, no, actually, it's allowed.
Well, and because we all know most people don't read their contracts, right? I mean,
All those guidelines are like 20 pages long too, so I'm sure everyone who's a DVC member has opened that up and just investigated everything in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some people definitely have, because we have some listeners that know all the intricacies of the DVC contract. But most I would say have not. I mean, I know I gave it a cursory review when I signed all the paperwork. But there's a lot of little minutia, and there's legal talk in there, and so sometimes you don't pick up on all these things. So I think that's a really good thing to know, and I think that's a question, like you said, a lot of members have. I do have a question here from Jay, another one from Jay, and he was asking if the DVC member has any liability if someone renting your points causes problems. And he gives some examples here of being loud at night, rude to cast members, damages to the room, etc. And he gives the analogy, if I have NFL season tickets and my ticket policy says if anyone using my tickets causes a problem at the game, I could lose my rights to my season tickets. Is there anything like that with DVC points? Can they? Are we as members liable for those renters?
So technically, it's up to Disney. At the end of the day, the member would be the last person that they would go to. We've rented thousands and thousands and thousands of reservations, and we have never ever dealt with this at all. It's never been an issue, never come up. It would have to be so extreme that Disney would come back to the member who booked the reservation for that guest, because most likely they're going to come at that guest and for the damages. I mean, we're talking about that it's like burn the place down for Disney to come after the member at that point.
No one's ever had a rock star party on one of your.
No one's ever had. We have had a few guests. This is on the guest side. We had a guest who had to switch rooms because someone, and it wasn't a guest of ours or a member of ours. It was the person who stayed in the Grand Floridian 3-bedroom Grand Villa before them, destroyed it so bad that they had to repaint walls. They had to reframe doors, and a few other things, and the damage. Disney took care of them. They gave them free dining plans and all this other good stuff.
Oh my god!
But that was not on our side or any of our guests or members. We just heard the phone call and we were like, oh my gosh! I don't know how you destroyed the 3-bedroom Grand Villa at Grand Floridian that bad.
Wow. That's crazy. I want to know what happened. I want to know what.
I just wanted to be a fly on that wall in that room just to see the damage.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I can't wrap my head around that one.
No. That's crazy. So anyway.
So I want to ask you a question, and so this is not Tom's question. This is my question, because this has nothing to do with Tom. He won't care about this at all.
Oh really?
Well. You probably won't. So
okay.
So this is from Lily, and so I'll read the question, and really this applies to me as well. So she's saying, as a member that is non-American, not a resident of the U.S., and does not have an American bank account, if I decide to rent my points, how would I be able to receive the money? I believe I would have to pay taxes to the U.S. government, fill out forms for the IRS and stuff. Does DVC Rental Store help with any of that?
We definitely do. So we have a lot of international members from Canada, Japan, a couple other places. UK is a big one, and there's a couple different payment options. We can do PayPal, we can do checks. There's different ways you'll get your payment, but then the withholdings and everything, we help you along the way with that. There are some federal withholdings, some international withholdings that you have to deal with on that kind of things, and we help you through that. We help walk you through that once we realize that you are an international member.
Okay, good. So like, yeah, I guess like for me in Canada, I'm not sure where Lillian's from, but yeah, so for myself, like we have to deal with things like capital gains on our income tax. And yeah, my concern would be, having to figure all that out, at the next tax season after I've rented out my points. So you guys I guess you're familiar with a lot of this stuff and the stuff we have to do to process it.
Well, we're a little limited on, so like when you get into capital gains and stuff like that, we can't help on how that is going to work with you specific to country to country. What we help with is the fact that you're renting in United States. So there has to be federal withholding and taxes you have to withhold on your actual rental income from that. How you disclose it on your own personal tax return is up to you and your CPA or your accountant, however they tell you to do it. But what we help with is taking care of the tax on the U.S. side so that you don't have anyone coming after you from the United States for any kind of taxes from rental income.
Okay, good. All right, that's fair.
That's great. Yeah, and just so you know, Drew, we have a ton of people that are international that listen to the show, so that's really helpful to them, I'm sure, knowing that information, because we have a lot of people that are from UK, from all sorts of different places. Are there any restrictions to any countries, or can it be anywhere?
We pretty much deal with anywhere. It's a case by case basis, and how difficult it may be, but we try our best to work it out with whoever it is.
Okay, great. I do have a question too, and this is, kind of, this is an interesting thing because I know that there are some members out there, and I'm sure you've heard this, Drew. There are some members out there that have a negative feeling about renting points out. Like right? And you'll see sometimes people will complain about availability, and they'll be like, it's all due to those renters,
Yeah.
And I just would love to know what your thought is about that, because I'm sure that's something you get all the time, right?
Yeah, it is something we hear, and we see it. And, at the end of the day, we provide a service for members who, it just creates a lot more usability for your points and versatility. And, you have these points, and let's say an emergency happens at your home and you just need some extra cash. We provide a service that allows you to turn those points into cash so quickly that you can then use that with whatever you want. At the end of the day, renting, there's I think the latest number was about 70 million points out there that have been sold.
Wow.
Renting makes up, maybe about 5 million of that's used per year. So you're really looking at under 10%, around 8-9% of what is actually people going to Disney World is renters. So at the end of the day, you're competing against 70 million points out there. We tell our people, because we have people that ask us about buying contracts, and we tell people, if wherever you want to stay is wherever you should buy. Because a lot of the complaints we get is, I can't get Bay Lake. We see the whole complaints of, it's 0 to 7, and I wanted to go to Bay Lake, and it's like, I bought at Saratoga, and it's like, well, you may want to consider buying at Bay Lake, because everyone who owns any of those 70 million points is trying to book at Bay Lake once that reservation hits 7 months, or the 7 months out. So, we like to say we're such a small piece of the pie that we're such a small competitor to everyone else that it's even if the whole rental market would go away, those reservations still wouldn't be in a surplus for everyone to have.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because I've always said, the points are the points, right? Those points are out there. They're going to get used by somebody probably, right?
Exactly. And if you don't use them, before there was this whole big rental side, people were just losing the points. You had if you banked them and you couldn't use them, well, it was like, well, crap, now I've got no use for my points and I'm going to lose them. Now, if you can turn those things into cash, pay for your dues for the year. I know dues just went up, so we had a lot of members say, well, I think I'm going to rent 50 more points this year just to pay for some more dues and just give me some more flexibility.
Yeah, and I guess also on the whole point value thing, or people saying that renters are taking up too much space is, like you said, even the people that can't use those points, I'm sure in the past they would have said, they'd find a friend or somebody else to use that reservation. So it's not like you guys are making new points in any of this, right? You're just using the points that are already in the system.
Exactly, like you said, Trevor.
Yeah.
It's exactly like you said. It's not like those points. I mean, those points may have been going unused a little bit more, but those, I'm not going to just waste 100 points. If I have 100 points that are banked in or borrowed or whatever it is, I'm going to give that to a family member or a friend and say, hey, why don't you guys go to Disney World, on us, or you give me a couple $100 and you can go to Disney World. Those reservations were still getting booked. It was just through a different avenue than when the rental side comes, and now you have an avenue that you can get cash fast. It's safe. It's easy. And it's great.
Let me ask you this. I got another question. Trevor, I'm sorry if you were about to say something there.
No, go.
Oh my gosh, I just completely forgot what my question was. Oh, okay. So renters go out and they post, hey, I want this reservation. Could a DVC member like myself, like let's say I have 100 points at Animal Kingdom I'm looking to get rid of, can I go on there and say, hey, I got 100 points at Animal Kingdom, who wants to rent them? Or is it just one way? Is it just the renter requesting?
So right now we're doing, it's just the renter. So the renter requests a reservation, and then we have a whole listings page on our website that members can go on and just claim whatever they want. But we're actually, it's kind of a good segue, we're working towards more of a system where members can go on and claim whatever they want, but they could also say, like you said, I have 100 points at Animal Kingdom, can you get rid of these for me? And we'll take them and we'll just say, like, hey Tom, here's a reservation we found for you, can you book this for us please? And then you just go on and book it, and now you're done. But we don't necessarily do, everything's driven by the guest, because
Sure.
The guest is the one that's, a member's points are wasted if no guest wants to go to that hotel or resort and use them. So we kind of, the guest is who drives that, and the members are the ones that, just go on and book them.
That makes total sense. And I'm just thinking to myself, some of the different ways, because I'm like, if I'm desperate to get rid of 100 points, I'm probably willing to take a little bit less money rather than nothing, right? So
Exactly.
like, it's like, wait, let's make a deal here, like, oh, okay, I'll give it to you for less if you take it, So-
Exactly. And we pay out the same to members. We have two set rates for members too. That's the 7 to 11 month, they get a premium rate, and a 0 to 7 they get a little bit of a discounted rate. We pay $15 to the member who books at the 7 to 11 at the premium resorts, and $13.50 at the 0 to 7 month resorts.
That's that's good to know then, I guess, for anyone that's thinking about this, is that as a member, it's better, like, if I know that I'm not going to use my points in the next 11 months, I'm better getting to you sooner than later to rent out my points versus, that last minute, like, well, I'm coming up, like I've got these points for like 3 months or whatever, and I have to use them by this date, like that. So it's better to plan ahead, I guess, if you're planning to rent your points out, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you don't lose a whole lot from the 7 to 11th to the 0 to 7th month window. It's only $1.50 difference. But if you have Bay Lake, you would probably much rather rent them at the 7 to 11th month window and get that extra $1.50 than you would wait until it gets to 0 to 7
Right.
and try to book something at that. And you'll have much less of a problem renting your points at 7 to 11 than you will at 0 to 7, because everyone wants the 0 to 7th month reservations, because everyone's like, oh, I got to get rid of my points now, I got to be quick, and everything else like that.
I've got a question. I've got two more questions in my head, and I don't know, Trevor. I just asked one, so I don't know if you have any more.
No, actually, I think no. Go for it, Tom, and then yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
So how quick is like the turnaround on this? So I'm a member, and I'm like, maybe I just I see people sometimes they buy a resale contract, and it's it's March, and then they have points that are expiring in May, and they're like, oh no, I need to get rid of these points in May. I can't do a trip. Like, how quick is the turnaround?
Well, we have, so in that kind of situation where let's say you had March points, or you had, let's say, June points that are expiring, it's now March, and you have points expiring June 1st. the odds of you finding a reservation during that time is going to be a little limited. But we do different things on our website, like discounted points, to where, let's say, you'd rather just get something out of these. So you can list your points at, let's say, $10 a point. And so then guests will go onto our website and see, I'm planning a quick trip here in about 2 months. I will just take some of those discounted points and I'll do that. And so there's different avenues that you can take to still get rid of your points.
Okay. That makes total sense. And my last question here, and this is going to segue perfectly into our next topic after this. So how do you, with the resale restrictions that are coming to the Riviera, now the Riviera is getting sold, right? We're going to talk about that in the next segment here. But how do you feel like that's going to affect the rental market? Because I feel like there's some really interesting things that could end up happening in the rental market with the way the Riviera is set up for resale.
So I'm not so sure the rental side is going to affect too much, especially in the original 14, because people are still going to want to go. People still have the points to book it. I think what you're going to see is that people that want to go to Riviera, you're not going to find a lot of people that can book those at the 7 to 11th month window, especially. And once you get to the 0 to 7, I think you're going to see a massive demand of people wanting to go to Riviera once it hits that time. And our problem is that we're going to have to deal with, I think on a regular basis, is members who think they have the ability to book at Riviera and really don't. And then you're going to be dealing with that. And, I think Riviera is going to be, whether we pay members more who own a Riviera or charge guests a little more because it's so hard to get. It's all a balancing act and trying to figure all that out.
So you think that, and I'm not going to hold you anything, obviously, but you think it's possible that the Riviera could be at a little bit more of a premium than the other resorts just based on, how it's set up and everything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I think everything's driven, it's a supply and demand world. And so if there's a whole lot of demand of guests that want to go to Riviera, and there's only a little bit of supply, you have to reach that equilibrium somewhere. And so whether it's we pay the members more that just own there at the 7, because the big deal is the 7 to 11th month window, and I just don't think you're going to see a lot of Riviera points out there for a long time, especially with the new restrictions and everything else that comes with that.
All right, great, yeah. So let's. I think that's all the questions I have, Trevor. I don't know if you have any more.
No, I think I'm good. I guess just on that last question, my initial thought. So sorry, I don't know if you're aware of this, Drew, but I'm an IT guy, so I'm always thinking of like the back end solutions for this. So I'm wondering if when Riviera comes around, if you may have to implement some kind of verification system for the members so that they can get flagged as, either having the core 14 or having access to Riviera for renting points.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just going to be a trial and error thing by the time that rolls around. Because I think people still are having a hard time understanding the new restrictions, and rightfully so, because it's a little confusing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely going to be some trial and error. We're going to have, I bet, a lot of members that are like, oh, I'll take that reservation, and it just creates new sectors. There's the 0 to 7th month window, but now it's 0 to 7th month window the 14 original resorts and 0 to 7th month window Riviera. And so you have some members who can book at both, some members who can only book at one. So it makes our job a little more complicated, but in the end of the day, I don't think it's going to affect anything too much.
All right, that's interesting. So Drew, before we move on to other topics here, can you give us website, all the places they can find you, Facebook, social media, and then I would also love to just to give a little elevator pitch here too, because I don't know if if we did that, but of why a renter would want to rent DVC points. Why would somebody want to rent somebody else's DVC points? What's the benefit to them?
Yeah, so you can find us. It's just dvcrentalstore.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the social media. But our main website is just dvcrentalstore.com. We just tell guests the big thing is you're gonna save thousands potentially, depending on how big your reservation is. Using us rather than you would using Disney. Rack rate is so expensive these days, and I know people love discounts and saving money, and that's what you're going to find through using us is savings can be anywhere 20 to 50% potentially, depending on the reservation, and you're gonna save money by using us.
That's great. Thank you for answering all of our questions, Drew. And Drew has been kind enough to stick around for the rest of our nonsense today. So
oh yeah,
we appreciate you.
Stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you answering all those questions, and I know our listeners probably got a ton out of that because all those questions really came from our listeners, and they wanted to know about it. So
yeah, and no problem. And if any of your listeners, give us a call or find our website or talk to our travel agent, just mention the Welcome Home podcast, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, please do. When you call them up, please let them know you heard about them from here, and we'll that will be appreciated. We love to hear that, and they'll love to hear from you guys. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, Trevor,
awesome.
You want to lead us into our next topic here, even though we did a nice little transition?
Yeah, so obviously Riviera is the hot topic right now, and so the Riviera resort point charts, purchase price, and walkthroughs were revealed. I actually watched some of the videos on this. It's really nice how the resorts or how the rooms are set up.
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. I like them a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, for sure. And so some dates that people will want to pay attention to. So the Riviera Resort will be open as of Monday, December 16th, 2019. So pretty late in the year. Early buyers can begin making reservations on Wednesday, April 10th. So coming up here in less than 2 weeks. And reservations made using Riviera points will be subject to the normal 11-month booking window, meaning owners will initially have access to check-in dates from December 16th through March 10th, 2020. So if you buy in early, you have quite a large window to play with right off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. We actually had a couple listeners write into us that they already bought there, which is cool. So a couple people have already bought. Did you see the price point for this? So the price point at $188 per point, which I think is I believe that's what Copper Creek is at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of surprising to me. We've been speculating on the show for a while that they were going to go closer to 200.
I thought they were too, because if you look at the Grand Floridian, the price now direct from Grand Floridian, it's a whole lot more expensive than that, and I really thought that they seem to be comparable resorts.
Yeah, but I think the case with this, it makes sense that they kind of went the same price as Copper Creek, but because remember how a couple months ago they raised the price on everything else, so that was them positioning themselves for this, right? That now they're selling Riviera. And
the deed is much further expiration wise too, so
yeah,
that's always a huge advantage that any of these new resorts have.
That's totally true. Yeah, and I thought too that the annual maintenance fees were at $831 per point to start out, which I wish I would have done some comparisons because I'm trying to think of what mine is at my resort.
I believe this is pretty high. It's
pretty high.
This is getting close to like Grand Floridian type.
I think the only one that it's actually under might be Vero Beach and maybe Hilton Head, but I think Vero might be the only one that's more expensive.
Oh wow!
So they're costly.
I wonder why the dues are so high there. I'm just trying to think of what. I mean, I doubt they're paying for Skyliner maintenance. I mean,
maybe they are.
Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the deal is for that Skyliner station that's going to be there. But I don't know. It's interesting to me that the dues are so high there. I'm not sure I understand why, but I don't know. I mean, I know some of our listeners have bought already and seem to be happy with it. I'm not, and of course we're not. We've been talking about this resort for a while, so it's kind of neat to kind of finally see that it's coming together here. But and by the way, I want to point out that a couple episodes ago, I guessed that the Tower Studios at their cheapest were going to be about 10 points per night. 11 points. What's up?
Yeah,
you guys laughed at me. I was on the nose.
No, and I guess I thought they were going to be a little bit higher too. Like I'm surprised that they came in as low. But again, the Tower Studios are just a 2-person room, so it kind of it does make sense.
And that's the cheapest season. They do go all the way up to like 26 in the premier season, so they do get more expensive. But in the very cheap season.
and I guess my only thought on why it's so expensive is I almost feel like they're building another. So like if you think about how there's Bay Lake Tower and the Poly and Grand Floridian, and they're all like the resorts centric to Magic Kingdom, right? This resort is fairly unique, or well, I shouldn't say it's fairly unique because it's in the same vein as like Beach Club and Boardwalk, right? Where it has easy access to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So its location is pretty, like, it's a prime location, but in a different sense than the other ones. And I wonder if maybe that's why they're positioning it the way they are.
Well, it's funny because we've been jokingly calling it the Star Wars Land Premium, right?
Yeah.
You know, but it is off to the side though. Yeah. I mean, but it is not like, it's not right on top of Hollywood Studios, right? It's off to the side a little bit, but it does have that direct access via the Skyliner. So I don't know. I almost feel like you have a monorail premium kind of situation going on here, but with the Skyliner, right?
Yeah,
and you're talking the most premium of lands, which is the Star Wars land, right? It's the one that everyone wants to be in.
For now, but then also I think they're even doubling down on that, and that they know what's coming with Epcot. And I think in the next couple of years, you know, Epcot and Hollywood Studios are going to be places that everyone wants to be. So the Riviera will be, you know, a premier resort for anyone wanting to hit both of those parks.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people too are even considering that Skyliner a ride in itself, and so just to have that resort that's connected right to it that you can just jump on any time, I think that's just been a huge draw for a lot of people.
Kind of the same as the monorail. I mean, like,
exactly,
we like the monorail for the same reason. So
I mean, I consider both of them to be rides. So transportation systems, but also rides to me. So you know, I would agree with that though. I think you're right, and the convenience of where that station's going to be, to, like you said, it's not just Hollywood Studios, it's also Epcot and all the things they're putting into Epcot. So it's both things. It's kind of in between the two of them, and it's got convenient access to both of them. And if you really think about it, there's not a lot of resorts that can say that they're conveniently located to two resorts, right? Even the Magic Kingdom resorts are just Magic Kingdom, right? You know,
yeah. I mean, the connector to Epcot is, you know, you go from the TTC, and it's a bit longer, but you're still avoiding, you know, you don't have to get on a bus to go to Epcot, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I feel this is the same kind of thing. Is, you know, they're selling it as, you know, alternative transportation, which gives you direct access to a large amount of the property. Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense there, and I took a look at a lot of the walkthroughs of this. One thing that I really liked, and I don't know if you saw this, but I noticed that in all of the other rooms, that instead of the pull-out couches, they had like the Murphy beds in the rooms instead of the pull-out couch. And me personally, I kind of hope they do that for like all the DVC rooms as they refurbish them. I think that would be great, because I think a lot of people don't. I mean, I don't want to sleep on a pull-out couch if I'm at Disney. Now, given I'm at Disney, so, you know, some things, you know, you let some things go. But I would prefer, if I stay in a studio, which I do often, and I have guests with me, to have them stay not on a pull-out sofa. It would be nice if they had a real bed. But I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority on that.
So I agree, but so from the back end on that, I actually do own a Murphy bed. So in our spare bedroom, we had a Murphy bed installed because we have family that comes and stays with us at various points, and the difference in cost between a Murphy bed and a pull-out couch is pretty big.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I guess my only thought on that is, you know, people talk about their dues, right? And, you know, I know they budget a certain amount for refurbishment, but, you know, as much as, like, don't get me wrong, I love those Murphy beds. I saw them in the video, and I think they're amazing. It's still a very expensive prospect to have everywhere.
No, that's you're not wrong, but I mean, I also look at Disney. I imagine that Disney gets a bulk price for their mattresses, like, because they probably go through mattresses like crazy, and they probably pay almost nothing for those mattresses. So I would think that they probably could get a bulk price for that kind of stuff too. But I don't know. It's really more that, because the whole mechanism and everything that goes into a Murphy bed, it's a lot more. Yeah, it is. Well, and those are pretty cool, because the couch basically like folds down with it. It's kind of neat how it all works. So I don't know. I liked that. I thought the rooms looked really nice. I was kind of surprised. Not that I didn't think they were going to look nice, but at first, you know, I think we talked about it on the show, the Riviera didn't really appeal to me that much. But then when I saw some of the videos of those rooms, I was like, wow, this looks really nice. I kind of want to stay there now, you know?
I'll tell you what, that restaurant up top, that looks...
Oh, I'm all about that restaurant.
I would love to go up there.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, you're absolutely right, Drew. That's another thing that I realized too, is that you have a restaurant that will have fireworks view for Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Like, whoa,
yeah, that's a premium. Yeah, I mean, for sure, that's going to be a tough reservation. I'm betting that's going to be a tough one.
Oh yeah,
but you know, I like I said, I'm all about that one. I really want to go there. So, especially with the food too. The food seems like it's going to be really good. Not that I've seen anything.
The food's not bad, probably too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel, you know, I think this will actually be a resort that so far I haven't gone and toured other resorts yet in DVC. Like I've been to other resorts and all that when I've been staying there, but I think I'm actually legitimately curious to like one day, you know, if I'm at Epcot, is actually, you know, hop on the Skyliner and go over there and check it out, because you're right. It is looking more and more interesting the more that we're seeing about it.
I like to resort hop anyway. Sometimes I like to go just wander around resorts. Sometimes, if there's just some reason for me to, I'm never just like, hey, let's go check out Saratoga Springs. That's never happened. But I love Wilderness Lodge, and we've made a trip over to Wilderness before just to walk around and wander and enjoy Wilderness Lodge. You know. So I think I could see myself doing this with this, especially since it's on the, like you said, it's on the Skyliner, right? It's on the way. So just, pop off and, go check it out for a few. And I mean, we haven't seen what the lobby's going to look like yet, right? They haven't released any renderings of that. We haven't seen we've seen kind of like a map and some pools and stuff like that, but we don't really know if it's going to have that grand entrance that we're used to. I'm assuming it will, just based on the grandness of the concept in general. But, I'm looking forward to this one now.
Yeah, I just realized. So for me, it's, I'm still kind of in the honeymoon phase with DVC. So when we go, we're all about the parks. But this is actually a good opportunity for, spend a morning at Hollywood Studios, hop on the Skyliner, go and have lunch at the Riviera, and then hop on the Skyliner again and go over to Epcot for, afternoon, evening kind of stuff. Like,
that's a good call.
Yeah, I could do that.
I could see that too. Well, I'm glad we finally know all the dates for everything, and I think it's interesting, and I'm glad a lot of our listeners have bought in already. You'll have to tell us once you stay there how it's gonna be, if you like it or not. I'm assuming it's gonna be a really nice one. So I think it's funny because, when they came out with that date, that's the date that I was thinking basically that Star Wars was going to open, right? Like late fall. Like first of all, they're pushing it with late fall as being December 16th, but they're pushing it a little bit, but
it's squeaking in there.
Yeah, barely, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I thought Star Wars was going to be, was late December like that. But I guess I guess they finished way earlier than we thought they were going to for Star Wars, and not so much for the Riviera. So
I honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, it's good that Star Wars Land is getting its hype and everything, and then that'll die down. And because if they opened up the Riviera around the same time, you would just have people fighting for Riviera on top of Star Wars Land.
That's true. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to say about the Riviera before we move on here?
No, I think I'm good. I think you guys covered it.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about our friends DVC Resale Market here.
DVC Resale Market, obviously, they've been our friends for a long time, and we love promoting them. They are the leader in the DVC resale industry, with 11 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 2 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If anyone is thinking about buying DVC, they have the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer all your questions. And these guys are awesome. We've had them on the show. I love dealing with these guys. Personally, I've obviously bought a contract through them. On the flip side, if you're ever thinking about selling, you can call up DVC Resale and be confident that they will do their best to help you sell your listing. They have over 98% of their listings sell within 30 days, and nearly 3,000 contracts sold in 2018 alone. So their website is dvcresalemarket.com, or you can call them at 1-844-DVC-PROS, which is 382-7767, and let them know that Welcome Home sent you. So again, that's dvcresalemarket.com or 1-844-DVC-PROS. And
yeah.
So fun fact,
fun facts.
Speaking of, me buying stuff from them, I actually I got my letter this week saying that everything is closed and done with the contract that I bought back in January from them. So again, the process was super easy. Like they gave me everything I needed to know, and I'm happy now, because now I'm looking at my at the website for DVC, and I'm going, now I have more points that I have to try and spend. So I might be calling you up, Drew, next if I need to rent out some points here.
Oh, please do.
Now you have too many points.
No,
you can never have too many points.
Yeah,
that's true. True.
But I can have enough points to pay my dues. So
that you can.
That's true. Drew, we never actually asked you, where do you own? You're a DVC member too, right?
Yep. Beach Club is our home resort. We've stayed
Nice.
there for several years, and I just love everything about it. So it's what feels like home, and just being able to walk to Epcot and Hollywood Studios is just, you can't be beat.
Yeah, I really actually do want to stay there now. I kind of didn't realize how their pool was set up, and
they've got the legendary pool at Beach Club.
Their pool is awesome.
Yeah, I kind of want to go there now after we're done with our honeymoon at Poly.
Oh, I highly recommend it. And you have Beaches and Cream right there, which is one of our favorite Disney restaurants, and it just has such a fun atmosphere to it.
Yeah, that is one that is on my bucket list that I've not stayed in yet. I stayed at Boardwalk a couple years ago, but I've not stayed at Beach Club yet. That has been on our bucket list for a little while now. So hopefully sometime soon here we'll get in there. But I have noticed it's a little tough at the 7-month mark to get into Beach Club. So.
Oh, yeah. Everyone wants the Beach Club once it hits 0 to 7 months.
Yep. Yeah, I noticed that's a tough one. So so let's talk about something I saw a lot of people complaining about on Facebook. How about that?
Yeah, I probably have the same comments, actually.
Oh, you do? Okay, I'm interested. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So this is and this is happening soon. This is happening basically. You'll be hearing this on April 1st, and this event is happening April 10th. I don't believe it's sold out yet as we're talking here, but DVC members are invited to attend the Star Wars Galactic Gathering at Disney's Epcot theme park, hosted in the World Showplace Pavilion. So if you're not familiar, there's like a little. It's kind of backstage. It's like a little event space back there, and they host all sorts of things back there. The event will feature character greeting opportunities and themed set displays, a DJ dance party, and reserved viewing for illuminations. All-you-can-eat buffet meals included. With Star Wars themed food and drink, the buffet will have salads, small bites, carving station, butter chicken, I don't know what that other thing is, delectable desserts, and a selection of alcoholic beverages are included for ages 21 and up, so I think that's a key here. Now, here's where everyone's mad.
Mm-hmm.
The cost for the party is $210 per person for guests age 3 to 20, $225 for ages 21 or older. Full payment due at the time of booking. Theme park admission also required. So it's not part of, of course, your ticket isn't included with that. So I saw a lot of people were really upset about this on Facebook. And Trevor, I know you were probably going to have a lot of those same things. I mean, for me, we talked before on this, like, I don't care about the premium events, like if they have them or not. I don't care how much they cost, because for me, it's like, if you want to do them, do them. If you don't want to do them, don't do them. It's not going to affect me either way. Like, they're not closing Epcot early for this. It's taking part, in a back area. Like, I feel like it just doesn't affect me at all, but I understand why people look at that number and there's some sticker shock. And I'm assuming that's where you're going to be at with this too, Trevor.
Well, I mean, it's a little high, and I guess to be fair, I've done dessert parties, and yeah, this is in the same price range. I didn't realize it had the buffet, and I'm assuming when they say Star Wars themed food and drink, I'm hoping that they would, offer some things up like, the blue milk that they're going to be selling at Galaxy's Edge and stuff like
an
that.
early preview of like the food at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, I mean that's what this
That would be
kind
cool.
of what this kind of seems like to me. Actually, so my annoyance is somewhere else, and it's that the from when they announced this, it seems like there was no warning on this, and
Oh, okay, like just a couple weeks notice, basically.
yeah, and I get that it's a members thing, and it's kind of a if you happen to be here sort of thing, but I don't feel that that's necessarily fair to a lot of members. I think that sorry, like myself, I'm planning stuff 11 months out. I'm already talking about my trip next year, but events like this make me question, like if I'm planning that far out, I can't just go and change plans quickly because all of a sudden there's a member event. And I guess on the flip side of that too is that, this is a one-time thing that they're doing versus something like Moonlight Magic where they have events throughout the year. So my annoyance with it is that, they kind of throw it out there as, it's a member event, but it's something that I'll never get to because I don't have the flexibility to just, drop what I'm doing and be there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I guess one of the things I've seen is that I believe there's a Star Wars themed run going on the weekend before, or the couple days before that. So I guess a lot of people were thinking, okay, well maybe the hardcore Star Wars fans will be here for that. But I get that though, because they did kind of spring it out of nowhere, right? It just kind of popped up and it was like, oh, okay, But I thought most of the people were upset about the price point, but I mean that's a good point too. It is a little high. I think the reason it's high, honestly, is because of alcohol. But if you got an open bar, I mean, you're going to end up with a lot of more expense there. But then again, the people that can't drink are only $15 less than the people that can. So
and I guess to me it's more a combination of things. Like the alcohol is great and all, and I don't drink, so that's a non-issue to me. But they're obviously offering food. They're offering very specific food. This isn't a standard buffet. They're offering something Star Wars themed, and they're also doing character meet and greets and all that kind of stuff. So this actually kind of reminds me of I did the dessert party for Star Wars at Hollywood Studios, and so that one in particular, they had you had the party, they had stormtroopers walking around, and then you got to watch the fireworks afterwards. And the stuff that they were offering during that dessert party, that's actually the stuff I saw there was far more unique than what I've seen at any of the other dessert parties like Halloween or watching Happily Ever After, anything like that. So I do appreciate them, going out of their way to give us something different. And with that comes, they're going to charge us a bit more because they are like, it's not the standard, cookies or whatever it is they normally do.
Yeah, Mickey ice creams.
Yeah,
we're not just handing out Mickey ice cream bars. I get it.
Yeah,
are you guys surprised at all that they put it in Epcot instead of in Hollywood Studios? I just like all the hype of Hollywood Studios and Star Wars Land opening. I feel like putting it there is just kind of makes a little more sense. I mean, I guess size-wise, I don't really know, but I was just a little surprised it was Epcot, not Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, I guess the venue where they did the dessert party in Hollywood Studios, it was inside the launch bay, and it honestly wasn't a very big space, so it was fairly busy when we were in there, and again, even compared to doing like a Happily Ever After dessert party, it did feel very crowded. Like we didn't even actually have anywhere to sit in there. So for them to offer a buffet, I can understand why they need somewhere to do a proper sit down.
Yeah, I think Epcot's got a little bit more size and availability for that kind of event. Is my
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. But then the weird thing too is that they offered viewing for Illuminations. Why would you not let people go over to and watch
the Star Wars show at Hollywood Studios? Like have a bus that takes them over there?
Yeah, like I don't know. It just it feels very thrown together, I guess, is the other thing.
Last minute celebration.
Yeah, it almost feels like they had budget for it and they went, let's just put it here and
throw it out there. Yeah. I do find that interesting because you would think that they would like put together a special bus and then bus people over for the Star Wars show and maybe they would join up with the Star Wars dessert party that's going on there and have that special viewing spot. But yeah, that's interesting. I know. I mean, I've been in that event space before at Epcot, and it is huge. I mean, it is a huge space. But I can't imagine they're expecting a ton of people for this event. I mean, I can't at that price point. I'm not expecting like 1,000 people to sign up. I mean, I just don't see that happening. If it were like $100, then probably. But I just don't see a lot of people doing it.
Yeah, but agreed. It's kind of a double whammy. Is that the timing of it and the price? There's a reason it's not booked up yet. Like we're 10 days out from it, and it's not like Moonlight Magic where those get eaten up the day they open. Nobody's, or I shouldn't say nobody, but they haven't completely booked this one up yet, which tells me that it wasn't very well planned.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's very possible. It's very possible.
I'm sorry, DVC. I'm just saying what I'm seeing.
I understand why people are upset about the price point. It does, it feels really high. I mean, I don't. How much was the Star Wars one at Hollywood Studios?
It was, I want to say 120, 130 per person.
Do you feel like it was worth it for that price? Like it was a good value, but there was no alcohol for that one, right?
No, there wasn't. But I felt, like I said, the spread of stuff they had, like they were doing like liquid nitrogen frozen ice cream and stuff like that. Like there was,
that's cool.
Yeah, there was some neat things. And then the stormtroopers were walking through the crowd and talking to people and all that kind of stuff. It was, I felt it was worth it for being a Star Wars fan. We got a lot of enjoyment out of it. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why people are upset. I get it. I think it's kind of an interesting event. I think it's interesting that it's like we were talking about. It's an Epcot. I do wonder if people are going to feel like the price is justified when they go. If it's going to be worth it, because it sounds like it's better than a normal buffet, but who knows? So let's go from one controversial topic to another one.
Yeah, this is a great one.
This is a great one. Do you want to do this one, Trevor?
Okay, yeah. So this is they released a bunch of stuff all at once, and everything's coming into effect May 1st. So, and I'm sure if you've been on Facebook at all in the last week, I've seen the people commenting on it, making the memes about it, which are just I get a laugh out of it.
Everyone's tired of this topic, by the way. We understand everyone's already tired of this, and it only came out a couple days ago, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, so we're talking about stroller restrictions, smoke-free parks, and changes to what you're allowed to bring in a cooler. So stroller changes, you have to have a stroller no larger than 31 inches wide and 52 inches long. And so that kills a lot of the double wide jogging strollers and stuff like that. They're also enforcing the no wagons policy, which I think is great.
Which is a big one for a lot of people, because there were a lot of people using those, or like Keen's wagons, where you could push them from behind. So they were considering them like a stroller, but they're really wagons. So, and they're huge.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd like to be pushed around in one of those.
Yeah, I think we all would.
I would like to. Yeah, I was
walking in Magic Kingdom. There's not a lot I wouldn't pay for one of those.
I was walking around the other day and I was getting winded, and I was like, I'm not in Disney shape yet. I got to invent an app called. You ever heard Couch to 5K? I need Couch to Disney, because I got to get in shape for my Disney trip coming up here.
My wife and I say this.
They should build an Uber app within Disney World during the parks that you can just. Someone will pick you up in a stroller and take you from one place to another.
Rickshaws. They got it like rickshaws.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my wife and I say it all the time. Is we see some kid napping in their stroller, and it's like, I would love to do that. I would love to have a nap and have somebody push me around.
That does seem like it would be great, right? That's the life right there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first thing is So stroller sizes are being adjusted. So I'm sure the first couple of weeks after that, there's going to be confused people, upset people that they're getting turned away with a stroller that they brought. So I feel for those people that, will be disappointed because they can't go in with their kids or they have to figure out another plan. But this is why they're telling us this far ahead. So
I was gonna say they have a whole month to figure it out.
yeah. So there's that. Secondly, so the second part of this announcement, the smoking areas are all going away. So I'll come back to that in a second. So just to cover off the things again. So smoking is going away. Inside or coolers, the rules with coolers are that you cannot bring loose ice or dry ice, which the dry ice thing I don't get. But
were there people really bringing dry ice into the bar?
Yeah, okay, I don't know. I thought I was crazy,
heard
but
of that before.
Yeah, I mean
that is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know. So years ago in Disneyland, there was a cast member actually got in trouble. Because something you can do with dry ice is that you throw it into a bottle and you throw a little bit of water and then you seal the cap and it explodes like a bomb. And so somebody or one cast member did that to another cast member as a joke and put it under a cart and it went off and they had to shut down part of Disneyland because they thought that a bomb had detonated somewhere. So
jeez.
Yeah, so dry ice is like you can do crazy stuff with it. And I could imagine, you have it in a cooler and the lid's sealed, all of a sudden it blows the lid off. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine anyone using dry ice. So
apparently somebody was though, or else they wouldn't have banned it.
Yeah. But I mean that's fine, for me, I don't bring a cooler to Disney, so it doesn't really affect me. But for those that do pack a lunch and all that, it's like you can get those, you can buy those freezer packs, right? Like you don't have to buy a bag of ice, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't even imagine dragging a cooler through the parks. That just seems like a nightmare to me. I like to go as I don't know, with as little as possible. I don't bring my wallet. I bring my phone, and that is it. And I have my Magic Band, and that's all I want to bring. And then, of course, baby stuff now, and a stroller, I'm sure. And but before, like when it was just my wife and I, we had a small backpack. We had Magic Bands and our phones, and that was it. But I don't know. I don't want to drag around a cooler all day.
And we're getting back to that too. Like we used to, same thing. Like when we first took our son, we had like the bags and all that kind of stuff. But we also made sure that he was old enough that he could walk. So we actually never went to Disney with a stroller ever. But yeah, the amount of stuff that we used to carry versus what we carry now, we actually have been, over the years, we've been buying smaller and smaller day packs. And now we're at the point where, like I have a pack that I carry, and now my son and my wife both carry a pack, and that's just carrying things like ponchos and a water bottle, and that's it. Like it's
just a little bit of stuff, just the stuff you need.
Yeah. So the cooler thing I don't get, but actually on my last trip, I saw a guy carrying around like a big cooler, like big enough he could sit on it, kind of thing. And he was dragging it around through Fantasyland, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
I get it for a certain, like I understand not everybody can afford the food at Disney, so I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody here. I understand it's expensive and not everybody can afford that, so I get that. I just can't imagine dragging a cooler around Disney. I just can't do it.
No, ignoring why they're dragging it around, I just couldn't imagine hauling that much stuff. It's just crazy.
Just seems like a lot.
Yeah. So
anyway, continue.
Yeah. So I wanted to cover that, and then I want to go back to smoking because I'm sure I'm going to offend someone. So the fact that the smoking areas are going away, good.
Man, we're gonna get mean emails now.
But you know what? I say this as a former smoker. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did used to smoke at one point in my life, and I quit, and I'm actually more sensitive to it now than before then. And also even further to that is I have had family members that have gotten sick and died due to smoking. So I'm really, really against smoking as an activity as a whole. So to me, the fact that they're forcing people out of the parks with it, I think it's a good thing. I think it highlights a change in, how people view smoking as a whole anyway.
Yep.
Lots of places have gotten rid, like you can't smoke in buildings anymore, at least like where I live in Calgary. There's no smoking spaces inside of buildings. They make you go outside. They make you go away from the doors. I think it's a good thing, but
yeah, I know. I don't disagree. It's funny because I saw so many people predicting, crazy things happening with this, oh, it's going to make the lines that much longer. And it's no, I don't think it's going to make the line to get in longer because you have smokers going out and coming back in. Because to be clear, they are going to have designated smoking areas outside the park. Again, though, too, I also saw people well, now we're just going to have to walk through a cloud of smoke to walk into the park. It's no, they're not going to set it up that way. They're not going to have it so that their smoke's going right in your face as you're going through the entrance. Their whole thing is they're redoing the entrance experience. Why would they do that? So, yeah. I mean, that just doesn't even make any sense. So, I don't think every time I've ever walked by one of the smoking areas in Disney, there's a handful of people, a couple people. So I don't think it's going to be this huge thing where there's people exiting and re-entering a bunch. I don't know. I just don't see it.
And I think the other reason that this happened too, and I've seen this as well, is that you get smokers which don't respect the smoking areas, which I've seen a couple of times. Is there's people that will light up and they're standing off to the side, so they're not brazen about it, but they're obviously not in a smoking area. And with the way it is right now, it's harder, I guess, for cast members to say, you shouldn't be smoking here because, then they say, well, I was just over, or, I thought this was the smoking area or whatever, right? It gives them an out. And then the other side of it is also people who use those vape pens, because I've known people working for companies and stuff, companies have had to ban people using those because people use them in the office. And so you're in a closed space and somebody's blowing that vape smoke. Same thing's happening at Disney, right? Where somebody figures that, I'm just gonna, it's just vapor. I'm not hurting anyone, but nobody wants to smell your cotton candy smoke.
Speak for yourself, Trevor.
I don't.
I don't either.
It doesn't smell like good cotton candy. It smells,
like burnt cotton candy.
Yeah, it's not good.
I feel bad for the cast members who have to do all these confrontations they're going to have to do, which I expect to be a whole lot here in the next month or two. I would not want to be, I don't know, what do you want to call it, the smoke patrol?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
or the stroller patrol either. I'm sure those conversations are not going to go well either.
Fun. Well, you know what? You're right, Drew. Maybe what we should do, so for anyone that's going to be down there in the next couple of months, make sure you really thank the cast members. Go out of your way to let them know they're doing a good job when they have to start enforcing this stuff, because it's going to be rough. But
and that's the thing that they have to understand is the cast member's not the one who made this rule up. It's just their job. So at the end of the day, you can't really get mad at them.
Yeah.
Those of us who are, reasonable, won't get mad.
Reasonable being the key word there.
Oh,
yes.
My gosh. Yes, reasonable is the key word there, is right. Because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, these rules are only as good as the people enforcing them, right? And I'm not going to lie. I'll profess ignorance to this because I've never had to bring a stroller in. But from what I've heard, these stroller rules are the same rules that were already in place. They're just enforcing them now. That's what I had heard, that these were already pretty much the rules. But except for the wagon strollers. I think the wagon strollers, they're now specifically saying no to those.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong with that, Tom. I would have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that they already had, size limitations and all that on the strollers. It's just, again, it was so, I think that because, strollers kept changing and stuff, or, different manufacturers and all that, they didn't want to put a hard line on it. But I think this summer they realized that they really have to crack down on this, because if they don't, all these things are just going to exasperate Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, right?
We've
like
already decided we're not calling it Galaxy's Edge, right? That's
Star Wars. Yeah, but
it's Star Wars Land. It's Star Wars Land.
yeah. So yeah, I think the reason why you're actually seeing the enforcement at this point is that they know that they have to start it over the summer here before it opens, because they need to get people in the right mindset before. It's easier once, it's been in place for a couple of months and people already know about it and the word's gotten out that, you can't do this, you got to do this. Like it'll make it easier when they're already having to deal with, launching a new land. Right. So
100% agree. Yeah. I think so many of the changes they've made over the past, 6 months to a year basically have been in preparation for Star Wars. So, but I think the one that everybody found kind of funny was the ice one, right?
Yeah. I'm still blown away by the dry ice thing. It's like, why would you go buy dry ice for your cooler? But
well, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't even know where I'd go and buy dry ice. But then I recently saw that my local grocery store has dry ice. And I was like, really? Okay. That's weird.
Isn't that stuff dangerous to the touch though?
Yes.
Yeah, you can burn yourself with it.
Yeah, I think you need to wear gloves to handle it, right?
Yeah, see, that's not worth it to me.
Yeah, it's not. But I think the main reason people use it is because of the fact that there's something to do with its evaporation point. So instead of it melting, it actually evaporates,
and it lasts longer and cools faster, right?
Yeah,
basically. Well, I also a lot of people were like, well, why are they not allowing loose ice? And from what I saw, a lot of people were saying, and this makes sense to me, it's because security. Because I guess security's, having to dig through all these coolers and, maybe they're not wanting to stick their hands through all this loose ice. But my first thought when I heard it was, okay, people probably just dump this ice out wherever the heck they want.
That's what I thought.
And then the walkways get slippery. But I thought I saw something where they said if you go to any quick service restaurant, they'll give you a cup of ice or give you ice to put in your cooler too. So I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, then it can't be because people are just dumping it out wherever they care to do so. Or I don't know. Maybe that was not correct news when I saw that. But yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was weird.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, both of those are good points. The other thing that I thought of too is that. And I guess this relates back to the security thing, is that you can, there's lots of places you can buy ice. But I know, you can still transmit diseases via ice, like hepatitis and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe going back to the security point, maybe they don't want, ice that they have in the park, they know where it's coming from. They're providing it, they can be accountable for it. Versus somebody bringing in, from an outside source. Maybe there's something about that that's, wigging them out. I don't know.
It's interesting. I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is the security side of things. I think, I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. Just with all the changes they're making to the entrance experience, probably trying to make those security lines go a little bit faster too. It's probably really easy if they just have a couple ice packs in there.
Well, and actually also even outside of the ice itself, you can hide things inside of ice. So maybe the concern there too is, people bringing stuff in that they're not supposed to be bringing in as well.
Are you talking about people sneaking in booze, Trevor? Is that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Some guy brings in his beer and, it's buried at the bottom of the cooler. I don't know.
I would love to know how many cast members have just seen a dude walking around with a Bud Light in his hand, just drinking it, and be like, "Where'd that come from?" Because you can't even it's not like the other parks where you could actually buy those at stands. Now it's like at Magic Kingdom, you can only get it from the restaurants. So it just kind of funny to me.
And they're very clear about not letting you leave the restaurant with the alcohol.
Oh yeah.
So I was going to say though, so. If I was going to do that, and I'm not going to do that, so Disney don't get up in my face about it.
Flag him.
I would at least get a koozie for my beer, so it doesn't look like a beer.
There's all sorts of things you could do to hide that stuff. That's the thing. You can make all these rules, but people are still going to figure out ways around them, of course, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought I actually most of the reaction I saw on this one was actually pretty positive. I think most people were pretty happy about these changes. especially the stroller ones. From what I saw, a lot of people were happy about the strollers because they felt like, some of these walkways get taken over by these huge strollers, right?
Yeah, it's kind of out of control when people are like, they're so wide that you can't even like turn the thing, and you're running over people's feet. And I actually did have somebody run over my foot, not last year but the year before, and it was an accident, but it just it highlights that the bigger these things get, the more you're going to have those kinds of instances, right? So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think once a trip I get hit in the back of hitting the heels with hitting the back of the leg with a stroller at least once. So I'm excited to finally have a stroller as a battering ram to get through the crowds. I mean, because that's how everybody else uses them. Now I'm finally going to have my own that I can push my way through crowds with. I'm kidding, of course.
You gotta get the spiked bumper on the front.
Oh yeah, there you go. The little cattle thing that they put on the front of trains.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll
Basically a
let you in
chariot.
with that.
What was that, Drew?
So basically a chariot, just
Yeah, chariot. Yeah,
tricked out
exactly.
chariot.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see Disney having any rules against having weaponry on the front of my my stroller. No rules about that.
The fact that they don't have the rule means that nobody's done it yet.
That's shocking.
So,
Hey, someone's got to start the trend somewhere.
You know what?
yeah.
Yeah, that's someone's got to start it. I'll be that guy. Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah, this is the first time I'm ever taking a stroller. This trip that we have coming in June, this is the first time I'm ever having to take a stroller. So this is going to be an interesting experience for me because my wife and I, when we take our trips, we're a little bit freewheeling. We kind of just, in the past, we've just kind of done our thing. And now we're not really going to do that anymore. It's going to be a lot more structured. And, I'm going to have to account for a stroller, whereas before we just get off a ride and just be on our way,
It's less, like you said, roaming and more of like escorting a caravan.
That's true. I'm super paranoid about my stroller getting stolen too. Like, I'm so paranoid about that, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about it yet. Like, I thought about getting one of those tile things, the trackers, so if someone steals it, then I can like track them down, or like using like a bike lock or something on my stroller. I don't know. I'm so paranoid about it.
The towel thing's a good idea. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Right? Just hide it in there somewhere. But here's the thing. I'm going to bring like a not nice stroller with me. Like, I'm not bringing a stroller that I'm going to care about with me, and we're not going to leave anything important in there. And I'm certainly not going to leave open food bags in there so that, the wildlife can have snacks, because I can't tell you how many times we've watched strollers, especially in Animal Kingdom, where the wildlife gets into those strollers and you just see them eating popcorn out of someone's stroller.
You see, this is the difference, Tom, is that you are aware of these things, so you're going to take steps to prevent them. So I don't think you'll have any of the issues that you're talking about.
I hope not. I'm probably being unnecessarily paranoid about this, but that's what being paranoid is, right? So, yep. All right. Anything else about this topic before we move on to other things?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Yep.
Cool. To more controversial topics.
Yeah.
About the controversy.
This one actually came out. Yeah, I know, right? This one came out right after our last episode, so this is a little bit of old news, but we want to talk about it. And I'm kind of sad that Damon's not here, because Damon actually has one of these, and I don't. And I don't know if you do, Trevor, but I do not. But
I don't know.
Yeah, but so basically, Disney's removing the walk around the world bricks from the Magic Kingdom entrance. So if you've ever gone to Magic Kingdom, you've walked around and looked down, you've seen these bricks that have different engravings on them that people were purchasing years and years and years ago. And these bricks were only when people signed up for this, they were only committed to be on display until 2011. So these have gone on a lot longer than they were planned to go. And unfortunately, they're not designed to be removed individually. So guests, these are getting removed, and guests are not able to take home their brick, which I get is a. For some people, they're upset about it, and I understand. Like, I get it, because a lot of people, these bricks mean a lot to them. Maybe they purchased for a loved one that passed away, or, Although I saw somebody on there, that said that was like good because it has my ex-husband on there and I don't want it there anymore. I was like, that's the opposite side. So, but
Harsh.
But, harsh, right? Yeah, she was psyched about it. She was like, "Good, get this thing out of here." But I don't know, Drew. Do you have one of these bricks? I know you've been a Disney fan for a long time. I wasn't sure if you had one.
I think my family has one. But I think it's in the transportation center. And to be honest with you, I don't think after the first year we bought it, I don't think we ever went and visited it once after that. So
you never went and found
really
it.
That big of a concern to us.
That's pretty funny.
That's a good point. They're just removing them from the Magic Kingdom entrance, right? Not the transportation and ticket center.
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's actually a valid point. I don't know. Let me see. Does it say in this article we're looking at here? Oh no, it does say the TTC too.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so both of them are getting removed.
There goes my stone.
Yeah, there goes your stone. Well, the good news is you can get a replica of the stone. And so for those that are at the park, they have like a little stand set up where you can go and get a replica brick to take home with you, or you can also get them, I believe, on Shop Disney. But I think you need if you can't come to the park in person, I think you need to have like a code. You have to email guest services first, and then they'll send you a code, and then you can go into Shop Disney and get it. But I mean, listen, I get why people are upset about this. Well, some people are upset about it. Not everybody's upset about it, but I get it. And it'll be kind of sad to see those go, but I'm hoping they're doing it because they're doing something really cool. I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm hoping that there's some sort of neat improvement that they're going to do.
Yeah, and I think one of the other comments that I saw too is that, especially in the TTC, some of those bricks are pretty much worn out at this point. Like,
destroyed.
You can hardly tell the name that's on them. And I'll admit too, so from staying at the Poly, walking from the Poly to TTC, you hit a point where it's regular bricks, and then you start getting the commemorative bricks as you're walking along the path. And I always thought that was nice. I liked, I was actually looking down, and I see the names and everything, and I thought it was a nice touch. So I hope that whatever they replace it with, it's something equally as nice, that it shouldn't just be you're in Disney, you shouldn't just be standard bricks, right?
It's got to be like some sort of design or something cool.
Yeah. I feel like they should have some sort of meaning behind it, and I'm sure they do have a good plan for it. And maybe it's part of a larger upgrade to the TTC, and we know they're redoing the entrance to Magic Kingdom and all that. But I do think it's nice of them though that they realized when they put in these bricks, obviously they're interlocked, so they can't pull them up easily without destroying them. So I do think it's nice that they're offering the commemorative ones for those that want to get them, because they could have gone the other way and just said, sorry, you had your brick and that was it, right?
Yeah, we said they were going to be 2011, and see you later. We're going to destroy them, and they're done. I also think to myself too, though, if let's say they did go with the plan of we're going to dig these things up and give them out, what about the ones, like you said, that are worn out, or the ones that are broken, or just the sheer difficulty in tracking down all these people would have been a logistical nightmare for them. You know what I mean? And so I get it. I get why they're not allowing this, because it would be so difficult for them to do. And then plus the construction time would probably be way longer. I don't know how many bricks there are, but to remove each one of them individually probably would take forever. So
I would not want that job.
No, it would be terrible. Who wants to do that job? Nobody wants to do that job. But listen, I understand why people are upset about it, and I am sympathetic to that. I get it. But at the same time, unfortunately, it's just not practical to take them out, and they were never built to be taken out, and they just weren't made to be taken out. So Drew, you got to go and make sure that you get your replica if you care enough to get your replica.
To be honest, I got to find it first.
You don't even know what it looks like.
A lot more time than it's worth.
It's also worth noting, by the way, if you didn't get one, if you never got one, now they're giving out bricks. Like, anybody can go and get a brick if they want one. So,
well, the best part is you paid for the brick the first time, and then Disney's like, hey, you want it again? Pay us again, and we'll send you a replica. So
that's true. That's true. I don't. How much were those bricks back in the day? I don't even know.
oh gosh, I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
It was a long time ago. It's amazing they've lasted this long, to be honest.
Well, and to that point, you paid for the brick back then. You got to say, I had a brick in, the Magic Kingdom from like, I don't even know, when did they start that? Like 1990 or something like that?
It was a long time. I don't remember actually when, and I don't think I see any dates here when that started, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah, you had your brick in the park for like 20 plus years. Like,
there's some famous people on there too. They actually, if you do the Keys to the Kingdom tour, they will point out some of the famous bricks that are down there. So
not anymore.
Not, I mean, maybe they'll keep the famous people. I don't know. But yeah, no, you're right. Not anymore. Right. Get rid of those. But yeah, like, I get it. It's time, right? It's past. It seems like they're doing something different. So
yeah.
All right. Well, anything else on this before we move on to our very last topic, our rumor of the week?
Nope, not here.
Yep. All right.
Trevor, you want to talk about this rumor?
I do want to talk about this rumor because this rumor is near and dear to my heart because I love the Void.
Yes, you do.
So the rumor is that a Frozen 2 VR experience is coming to the Void. And what they think is that it'll be coinciding with the long-awaited sequel premiere to come out on November 22nd. A Frozen 2 VR attraction will be slated for the same day at Disney Springs in the Walt Disney World Resort and Downtown Disney in Disneyland. This upcoming Frozen 2 VR experience will put you inside a new multi-sensory Disney adventure where you'll be immersed in the world of Arendelle with Anna and Elsa. What do I think of this? Yes, please.
Okay, nice.
So I'm all for VR and anything to put VR forward, obviously, because I like the Void. Also, the date happens to coincide very nicely with being one of the last days of my trip when I'm down there in November. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested though. So first of all, I just want to point out this rumor is coming from WDWNT.com. I want to give them credit, or I guess if this is wrong, I guess I want to give them blame. But basically, I'm interested. I'm assuming that this is going to replace Wreck-It Ralph as opposed to Star Wars.
That was my question too. Is where it's gonna? It's at Saratoga Springs or Disney Springs, right? In the same place that the Void and the Wreck-It Ralph thing is.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. The thing is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
No, that was me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the thing is that so being that I've been there and seen how it's set up, they have a separate space for the Star Wars one and for Wreck-It Ralph. So
gotcha.
I can, when I was in there, I saw at least there was 3 or 4 different bays, I guess you could call them. So like when you go in, you've got like a starting room that you go into to get suited up and all that. And they had 4 different ones that I saw. So what I think they might be doing is that it like when they started, they were just running the Star Wars one in all of them. And now they split them out. And so now I think it's 2 of them are running Wreck-It Ralph and 2 of them are running Star Wars. I think they may further split that out that, they've got, this one running Star Wars, this one running Wreck-It Ralph, and then this one running Frozen, or 2 of them running Frozen or whatever. So I think they'll be able to do it.
So you're saying they're going to have all 3, that it's not going to replace anything?
I think so. I could be wrong on that. Like it could just be that they're saying, Star Wars is done and they'll phase that one out, because the thing about the Star Wars one is that it doesn't relate to the new movies at all. It's actually, the storyline actually follows Rogue One. So, the logic is, with Star Wars Land coming, that they would want to keep the Star Wars one, but really it doesn't have that much to do with Star Wars Land. So
yeah, That makes sense. Well, that makes me glad I'm going to do it in June when I go.
You would have been, well, you wouldn't have known any better, but you would have been sad if you didn't get to do that one because it's so good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know if you've done that one, Drew, but Damon and Trevor have both done it, and they said it was amazing.
No, I had friends do the Star Wars one. They said it was a lot of fun, but I've never done either of them. I've always wanted to. It's just something you kind of forget is there when you're in Disney and all like the hustle and bustle of everything. You don't like, oh, we should just go do this.
Yeah,
that's true. And
yeah,
I think part of it for me is I'm staying at Old Key West next time, and so I'm right by Disney Springs, and we have a dinner reservation at Disney Springs, so it just kind of works out, you know.
Yeah, and for us, like we always set aside a morning where we go to Disney Springs and do shopping anyway, because we like going to the Christmas store and all that. So I always make sure that, you know, in addition to the shopping, we always stop off at the Void. So yeah,
nice.
You kind of do have to plan for it a little bit, but I do highly recommend you give it a try the next time you're there, Drew.
Oh, definitely. I've always, like I said, I've always wanted to. It's just something I just need to put it in an actual schedule and just do it.
I'm kind of the same, because like we never plan time to go over to Disney Springs. It just, you know, sometimes it's just like a random thing, like, oh, let's go to Disney Springs, why not? And so like, yeah, you just kind of got to plan it as something to do, right?
Yeah, we're always over there too in Disney Springs. We love it, and so it's just kind of wanting to do it.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things, like it is over by the Christmas shop, so if you don't go over to that side, you can miss it very easily. And yeah,
I'll be interested. And now, given I haven't done the other two, but like what this would look like are you going to have Elsa's ice powers? Like what are you going to be in this? Like what character would you be? And now, given none of us have seen Frozen 2, so we don't know what the plot line is for this or what characters are going to be introduced or anything like that. But I just wonder where you are in this story, you know?
So if it's anything like Wreck-It Ralph, so the interesting thing was when we did Star Wars, you were just a stormtrooper. You just like you didn't get a pick or anything. With Wreck-It Ralph, they gave you a card. So like before you even went in, there was 6 player cards, and the cards made you look like someone from the internet, like in Ralph Breaks the Internet. So you could pick like just a generic character from the internet. My thinking on Frozen would be, you know, it would be same kind of thing. It would be, you know, people from Arendelle, if they that would
like the townspeople.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you have a choice of 6 townspeople, and so everyone gets to pick one of them.
Can I be the Duke of Weaselton?
Wesselton?
Yeah, I think it's pronounced
Weaselton. I mean, that's who I'd want to be.
Or Duke Weaselton?
I mean,
from Zootopia.
That's true, yeah. Both voiced by Alan Tudyk. Fun fact.
Love it.
I don't know, or maybe it'd be fun to be Sven. You know, you could be
reindeer. Reindeer are better than people.
That's true. All right, I think
I have to stop doing that.
I feel like we're getting punchy. This has been a long one. Maybe we should wrap this up, unless there's anything else anybody else wants to say about Frozen before we wrap this show up.
Nope,
got nothing.
All
right. Well, I hope this happens. I like new stuff, and I like that they're rotating stuff in and out of the Void. I think that's a good idea, and I think it's smart to coincide with movie releases. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So, do you want me to wrap this up?
Yeah, Trevor, let's wrap this thing up.
All right. So, first of all, Drew, so thanks for joining us today on the show.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, we had a great time, and yeah, you know, thanks for answering our questions about renting our DVC points. I mean, it's given me, you know, some new things to think about here. So
and no problem. If any of you guys or anyone else has any more questions, you know, go to our website, get on our there's a contact us thing on there, ask away. We'll be happy to answer anything.
Oh, don't worry, our listeners will.
Yeah. I'm looking
you'll be hearing from them.
Hey, that's just fine.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. So, to wrap things up. So, as usual, you know, anyone that has any questions, you can reach us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. As usual, you know, we got a ton of great listener questions today. And, you know, keep them coming, guys. We also, we also reach out to people on Facebook. So you guys can find us on Facebook as well. I think that's pretty much our biggest platform. Twitter and Instagram are there as Welcome Home Pod and Welcome Home Picks, but really Welcome Home Podcast on Facebook is probably the best place to reach us if you guys do have questions about anything on the show. So yeah. As far as iTunes goes, we do like the reviews, but yeah, kind of like Damon said on the last episode, like, give us a reason why if you didn't like us, I guess. But
not that Trevor's in a tunnel, because you know.
Yeah, I guess I do. Maybe I should stop podcasting in the bathtub. I might change that. So
I just always assumed you were driving through a tunnel and in your convertible, and that's why it sounded that way. But it's okay, Yeah. Well, yeah, so please review us. But also don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart Music Radio, all sorts of places you can find our podcast. Any place that has podcasts, you can pretty much find us if you just search for Welcome Home and look for a Disney Parks and DVC a podcast, because there are other Welcome Homes out there. So look for the one that says Disney. And just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please contact a DVC representative, a cast member, call Disney directly, or if you have questions about renting your DVC points, of course, call our friends at DVC Rental Store. A big thank you to DVC Resale Market for sponsoring this episode, and of course to DVC Rental Store for being on the show today. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.